This is possibly going to be one of the nerdiest videos that I have ever done in my responses channel. Reason I say this is because I watched a video from Kayleighkill about the new Star Wars videos, and from what I've watched, J.J. Abrams, the person that directed the Star Trek movie, is going to be producing the Star Wars series, the new Star Wars series now. Because not a lot of people know that Star Wars has been bought out by Disney and they're retooling the series. Now, I watched Kayleigh's video entirely. You can check out the video right here in this annotation if you have not watched it already, and you can also respond to the video if you are basically a fanatic for Star Wars. Now, I wouldn't say that I'm a big fan of Star Wars, but I have followed the Star Wars right from The Phantom Menace all the way to Return of the Jedi. So, if you don't know the whole plotline of Star Wars, I suggest you watch Star Wars right now because Star Wars, great story, great character plots, and just things that just blow your mind, like the lightsaber battles, the character plots, and everything else. How Anakin Skywalker becomes Darth Vader, and then how Darth Vader redeems himself in regards to saving the Jedi, and how Luke Skywalker is the last of the Jedi. Now, I have not read the expanded universe books, but after watching Kayleigh's video, I have an idea of how some of the characters develop now. Like, I know that Han Solo and Leia get married, then they have kids, and then their own stories happen, and the results are pretty tremendous. So I have not read that far into the expanded universe. I might if I have enough time, because I'm a nurse. I don't have enough time to do these sorts of things. So I probably might just find it on an ebook or something and then read it while I'm doing night shifts or something like that. I don't really know. Focus. All right. This new revamp of Star Wars is going to be pretty cool. Now, I honestly have not seen Star Trek either. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to see Star Trek just to get an idea of how J.J. Abrams' style of filming and directing correlates between how this is going to happen. So basically, I've watched Star Wars from Phantom Menace all the way to Return of the Jedi. Basically, in Phantom Menace, you find the young Anakin Skywalker and then Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi, young Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Qui-Gon Jinn. Basically, Obi-Wan Kenobi is an apprentice to Qui-Gon Jinn, and he basically is just training Obi-Wan in the ways of the Force and such and such and such. And then the Trade Federation attacks and that sort of thing. Droids, basically, in the first episode one, in episode one, you get to see races like the Gungans, you get to see the Trade Federation droids, you get to see Darth Maul, and then you discover Darth Sidious, Chancellor Palpatine, Chancellor Valorum, not Chancellor Palpatine, Senator Palpatine, and then Chancellor Valorum at the time. Now, this is stuff that I'm just bringing out of my head, so if this is a little disorganized, I do apologize. Please don't correct me because I'm just getting this off of my head. I'm not using Wikipedia. I'm just getting this from head knowledge because I've watched all the Star Wars movies from Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi, like I said before. Shut up. Anyways, that sort of basically brings me back to the points where the plot really thickens. Like, Queen Amidala is under fire because they think that she can't rule Naboo. Because she's a young queen, a very young queen. And then as the story progresses, the queen starts to get more and more support, and then they start a battle, and then the battle ensues, and then things happen. And then nearing the end, there's the big epic fight scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi, Qui-Gon Jinn, and Darth Maul. And Darth Maul, played by Ray Park. Wow. That is a great, great character to play Darth Maul, because he's a wushu style fighter. He knows the style of wushu, and that just makes him do insane stuff. Now, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie, where they have the epic fight scene. If it's not Ray Park, I might have said it wrong. I don't know if I did say it right, but it's Ray Park as far as I know. But that's how I figured it out. I'm, like I said, head knowledge. I'm getting this from head knowledge. So then Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon Jinn, and Obi-Wan basically kills off Darth Maul. So Darth Maul basically gets sliced in half and then thrown into the base. And then Qui-Gon Jinn parts with knowledge for Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then that's how the story continues. Obi-Wan trains Anakin Skywalker, Anakin Skywalker in the ways of the Force. And then there's Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones, Anakin's a lot older now, and then Padme, who I believe is Queen Amidala, I'm not entirely sure, like I said, head knowledge. Anakin and Padme fall madly in love, and then Anakin struggles with what's right and what's wrong, and then they fight enemies like Count Dooku, and also more encounters with Darth Sidious and the Trade Federation, and there's also epic fight scenes in the arena where the Jedi and just they just go bananas in the arena, and you get to see Mace Windu, you get to see Jango Fett, you get to see all those different sorts of characters, unique characters that are just pinnacle to each of the other characters. Like Jango Fett is the father of Boba Fett. Boba Fett was just a little shrimp when we saw him in Attack of the Clones, and then once Mace Windu killed Jango Fett, Boba Fett saw it, and then he was like, "I vowed to get revenge," blah 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 blah, that sort of thing. So, like I said, I'm just getting this all from head knowledge. If it basically feels scattered, I'm sorry. I'm just getting this all in my head. You know how I like to repeat this sort of thing? Anyways, that sort of story, it really just draws you in. It's so cool. So cool. And then you get to see in Attack of the Clones Yoda fighting, and that is just sick. Because this little dude, he's got a little lightsaber there, and he's just going pew pew pew. He's like a little hobbit on coffee, that sort of thing. But he's not a hobbit. What do you think Yoda's race is? I mean, he's a little green man with these long pointed ears, and then not a lot of hair, and then you go and then that sort of thing. He would be hard to fight because he's a master in the Force. I mean, in Return of the Jedi, he's like 900 years old. In Attack of the Clones, how old do you think he is? Like 600 years old, 700 years old, 400 years old? I don't know. He looks pretty young for his age at the time. In the first one, in the first Phantom Menace, he had a lot of hair. In Attack of the Clones, not so much, but he's still very spry as a Jedi Master. And then that sort of thing, plot develops, Anakin loses his arm, and then there's a secret marriage to Padme, and then everything just builds up from there. Obi-Wan, I don't know what happened to Obi-Wan at the time. It's been a while since I watched the movies, but I do know for a fact that Anakin and Padme are in this relationship. Padme becomes a senator, and then the characters start to develop there and there. And in the movie, Anakin's mother dies, which is so sad because I liked Shmi Skywalker, and just terrible what the Tusken Raiders did. So it's crazy sauce, crazy stuff there. So a lot happens in Anakin at the time. He has this struggle with the Force and also finds out what he's really meant to do. And also plans for the Death Star, I think, have been released in Attack of the Clones. But if it's not, then it's probably further on to the movie. Anyways, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Oh man, was this episode of Star Wars ever something? This is when Anakin is like fully grown and well trained in the ways of the Force. But in this episode, he's just very arrogant, very cocky, and he thinks he deserves to be on the council. So as it goes further into the movie, Senator Palpatine appoints him as a personal representative of the Jedi Council, and then the council, especially Mr. Windu, says, "You're on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master." And then, oh, that sets it off right there. Oh man, oh man. Then Anakin's like, "The council doesn't trust me," that sort of thing. Like I said, I'm just getting this out of my head. So if it's pretty disorganized, just let me know. And I'm going to just correct myself in a comment saying, "Oh, okay, thank you very much." But if you are hearing this for the first time and you don't know what Star Wars is, I suggest you watch the entire series from Episode 1 to Return of the Jedi, and then also read the expanded universe if you have the time. I probably might do that when I have the time, but I seriously don't have the time because, like I said, I'm a nurse. I've been working a lot. Anyways, so as the story progresses in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan Kenobi is starting to lose faith in Anakin, and Anakin's starting to doubt himself. And then as the movie gets further, Senator Palpatine says the dark side of the Force is a power that some tend to say it's unnatural. And then Anakin's like, "Is it possible to learn this power?" And then the famous line, "Not from a Jedi." Oh, boom, right there. That's how it is, yeah. And then the Jedi Council catch Palpatine in the act, and then he's like, "You're under arrest, Chancellor." And then he's like, "Oh, you're threatening me, Master Jedi." And then it just goes bananas all over. And as it goes further, Anakin makes a choice whether to save Palpatine, where he reveals himself to be his true self as the Emperor of the Sith, and then Mace Windu gets thrown out the window by what Anakin does. And oh, Mace Windu dying was like the saddest part of the movie for me. And then Anakin was like, "What have I done?" And then Anakin Skywalker then gets crowned Darth Vader, and then this whole thing starts where Anakin goes on a spree of killings. He kills little kids. He kills the Jedi. Oh my gosh, what a bloodbath in this one. The Sith have risen, and then the Galactic Empire is formed. Oh my gosh. oh my lordy, this is crazy sauce. And it just really gets blown up at the end. And the big fight on Mustafar happens. And well, that sort of thing. I mean, I know I missed a few scenes. I'm not going out of the. I'm just basically getting this out of my head. Like I'm just remembering key scenes as I go along here. So that's why it's going to be a little bit longer than most because I'm trying to get the key scenes from my head. But I think I've got it so far. And if not, you can dislike the video. Anyways, they go on the planet Mustafar, and then Padme is just scared for Anakin because Anakin is just like changing into this new being, this new person, and then Padme is like, Anakin, you're breaking my heart. And then she's like, I want what's best for us. And then he force chokes her, and she's pretty weak. And then that sort of thing. And then Obi-Wan's like, what are you doing? And then it starts. And then Anakin, in his full rage, gets just so angry at Obi-Wan, and he just loses everything. He loses his, he loses it. He loses it. He just is supposed to bring balance to the Force, but ultimately he chooses the dark side. And then he loses his arm and leg, and he's more machine than man now. He gets rebuilt into Darth Vader with the black suit and everything. So at the end of the video, you see Padme dying while giving birth to Luke and Leia, and then you see Anakin on a bed being built into the man that is known as Darth Vader, who a lot of people idolize, apparently. So after that, the character plots really start to develop, and then Darth Vader basically is with the Emperor. Emperor, Darth Vader beside each other. Holy crap, that's crazy stuff. And then the older episode starts. So A New Hope begins. Luke has grown up with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and I'm just going off with what I know because I haven't read the books fully. I'm just going off with movie knowledge. So Luke grows up with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and then Leia gets taken to the Organas. This is when they were both kids. Like at the end of the movie, Luke goes with Owen and Beru. So that sort of thing. What happens there is they grow up in separate communities. Like Luke grows up with Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, and then Leia gets grown up with the Organas, and that's how it happens. And that's how she becomes Leia Organa, and then Luke becomes that sort of thing. Luke Skywalker, because basically that's Anakin Skywalker's son. Duh. Anyways, so New Hope happens. The old Obi-Wan Kenobi, old Ben, if you want to get into it, is in it, and then that's how it happens. And then, man, I could go on for another like 12 minutes or so. It's about 12 minutes I've been talking about this, and if you are not like a diehard fan of Star Wars, or if you know the movies, then you probably can understand my feelings of how this new revamp is going to be about. So then basically, Obi-Wan trains Obi-Wan trains Luke in the ways of the Force because his family has died, and then in Empire Strikes Back, he meets up with his father, Anakin Skywalker, and then in Return of the Jedi, he fights Darth Vader out of his rage, cuts off his hand, and then he finds out that he does not turn to the dark side. He then basically fights the Emperor, but the Emperor shocks him, and then Darth Vader redeems himself by throwing the Emperor down into the generator, and then Emperor Palpatine dies, and then the Jedi are saved, and then Luke basically has a choice. Well, he doesn't have a choice. He has to save the Jedi. So then after that, that sort of thing really develops. Then at the end, you have the big party on the Forest Moon of Endor. Ewoks, they're happy and partying up and basically banging helmets with their sticks and everything. And then you see the three ghosts of the Jedi Masters. You see the ghost of Anakin Skywalker, you see the ghost of Yoda, you see the ghost of Obi-Wan. Basically, in the older version of Star Wars, you don't see the redigitized Hayden Christensen holograph. You see in the older Star Wars, the Anakin Skywalker played by an actor named Sebastian. I don't know Sebastian's last name, but his first name is Sebastian, and he plays as the older Anakin Skywalker in the non-remastered versions of Star Wars, and the non-remastered version of Star Wars Return of the Jedi, that sort of thing. Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. Star Wars Episode 5 was Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars Episode 4 was A New Hope. That's how much I know. Anyways, now, as for the new Star Wars 7, 8, and 9, Star Wars Episode 7, Episode 8, Episode 9, I don't really know what this is going to be about. I don't know what J.J. Abrams is going to have up his sleeve, but I definitely think It should be about the story of the Knights of the Old Republic. Now, I played Knights of the Old Republic on Xbox, then I played KOTOR the Sith Lords, and the story in Knights of the Old Republic really drew me in with Darth Revan and Darth Malak. That story was pretty bomb, if you ask me. I don't know if they're going to center it off of that because fans have their own different viewpoints and different ways of interpreting the Star Wars universe. So I don't know how J.J. Abrams is going to take this, but I don't know. I'm just going to prepare myself for any story that comes its way because J.J. Abrams and the crew and everything else, they're planning out this series, so I don't really know what it's going to be about. I have no freaking idea. But I do know for a fact that if it stays true to the Star Wars way, then it should be good. So if it has the Star Wars feel, then I'm going to fall in love with it. But if it doesn't have the Star Wars feel and it feels pretty lackluster, then that sort of thing is going to probably throw me off and draw me away from it. But I don't know. I honestly don't know what's going to happen, but we're definitely going to see what goes on in this new revamp of Star Wars. So, Mr. Abrams, I hope you do not screw this up. Thank you, Kayleigh, for giving me the opportunity to respond to this video. I know it's pretty long, but I just had to go with my head knowledge on this. So get fueled for life, go Team Iowa, and may the Force be with you.